All right, I'm here with Peter Kahn, the new chief boxing officer with Triller Fight Club. He's got a major event this weekend with major influencer Jake Paul against former MMA star Ben Askren. Also a full slate of musical performances led by Justin Bieber. You got Snoop Dogg. A huge event this Saturday night. How's it going, Peter?
Jeff, it's fantastic. I mean, huge is an understatement. I've been in boxing for 25 years and I've never quite seen an event like this, which truly merges, the sport that we love of boxing with entertainment. So it's a big lineup, like you mentioned. Of course, Jake Paul and Ben Askren. You have the one of the biggest influencers and YouTubers in the world, fighting very well respected MMA athlete in Ben Askren. We have Regis Prograis and Ivan Redkach in the co-feature. So, for the hardcore boxing fans, that fight definitely should stick out because, Regis Prograis is a former world champion, arguably one of the top 2 or 3 in the world still, and could be facing, the likes of Jose Ramirez or Josh Taylor again. Ivan Redkach, a guy that's, been in there with the best and has an opportunity to resurrect himself as a title contender. So that's, definitely a big fight. And then we have a crossover fight. We have former 2-time Cruiserweight world champion Steve Cunningham fighting MMA legend Frank Mir. And so that's going to be interesting. And they're going to be fighting at heavyweight. We have Joe Fournier fighting Ray Kahn, who's a DJ. And, we have a great undercard featuring undefeated fighters in Junior Yunin, Quinton Randall, and Lorenzo Simpson. As you mentioned, I mean, what an entertainment lineup. Justin Bieber, the Black Keys, Saweetie, Doja Cat, Diplo, and Major Lazer. And of course, we have the premiere of Mount Westmore, which is the super group with Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, E40, and Too Short. Pete Davidson will be commentating. Of course, we have, Al Bernstein, Ray Flores doing blow-by-blow, Mike Coppinger as the insider. It's going to be a great night. I mean, and we have some surprises in there as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Mount Westmore. I didn't want to leave anybody out, so I just led with Snoop Dogg and called it a day. But before we get into what's going on with Triller, because you guys are almost in the news every day now for good reason. You mentioned you've been in boxing 25 years, and people may or may not know you. Obviously, I work for FightNews.com, one of the original online boxing websites, as I'm sure you know. You mentioned before the interview, you went to high school in Dallas, which I had not known because I figured you're a New Yorker. You went to Syracuse, and then out of college, you started booking R&B gigs. Talk about that experience, and then you obviously started working with the one and only in America, Don King.
Right. So, I haven't really talked about this part a lot, but a lot of people don't know this about me. I wanted to work in the music business initially. And, after going to college, I was in New York City and I had an opportunity to work for a company called Famous Artist Agency. It was the first job I ever had. And I basically was like a gopher assistant for 2 agents, and they booked R&B and hip hop groups. This goes back to 1993, 94. So, at the time, there was no internet, there was no cell phones, there was no social media. I mean, it was old school, I guess, right? So it was the traditional method of artists having a booking agency, those agencies booking the talent for their tours and concerts. And so I worked for that company, and that was a great experience, a great entree for me into entertainment. From there, I managed a group. And, from there, I then ended up in South Florida, which is where my parents had moved. And so from there, I one thing led to another. We can spend an hour just getting into that. One thing led to another. And yes, I started my career in boxing with Don King Productions.
Right, and as someone in boxing, you don't just go to the HR department at Don King Productions and apply for a job. So
no, look, excuse me. The long and the short of that story was, I was training. I was going to make my pro debut. I was 22 years old. I had fought amateur, and I'd made up my mind that I was gonna, have my first professional fight. I'm in the gym. There's a local promoter that was the local promoter back in South Florida at the time. He then was hired to work on a single event. Don King was going to be promoting in South Florida, featuring Frankie Lyles against Frederick Sellier. I'll never forget it. And so he said to me, don't worry, I'm going to have you work for me. I'll pay you after the show. And I ended up doing everything you can imagine for that. I mean, I don't even know if I slept that week, from airport runs to, getting guys licensed, to the medicals, to you name it, I was doing it, getting mount agreement signed. So anyway, after that, he didn't pay me. So I basically picked up the phone, called Don King Productions and said, where's my money?
Right.
And so then I was told, come on in. I come in. Little did I know I was getting interviewed. And I was basically, I'll never forget it, because Dana Jameson, who was the vice president of boxing operations, said, this is going to be trial by fire. I'm like, what's going to be trial by fire? She's like, you start Monday. I was like, she's like, you're getting on a plane and going to Las Vegas for Tyson McNeely. I was like, okay. So that was the beginning. And that's literally how that played out. That's the quick version.
I wish more people would tell their boxing story, and I'm going to share mine with you one day, how I got into it with Richard Steele. But I think it's amazing because people don't realize it's not like, someone rich. It's not like you're inheriting something. It's just something happens in your life, and there you go. So great story.
And I've told this before, even before that, Brad Jacobs, who's the chief operating officer at Top Rank, a year before that had, put me in camp through another promoter, Mike Acree, with Hector Camacho. And so that was like, from there to working on that show to wanting to make it just happened. I didn't look for it.
And at the time, you're not realizing you're really working with the legends, the game.
No, I mean, it was just, I was 22 and I was really just thinking about today. And, and I really wasn't looking where that would be 27 years later. And so, here we are now.
Right. And we're going to get to now. And you go on to become one of the top boxing managers in the game. You were up for manager of the year at least a couple of times that I'm aware of. You got one of the hottest young fighters in Alexander Zayas from Puerto Rico, I believe, which is an amazing place. And you're just managing your fighters. I was lucky enough and thrilled to interview Franchone. Cruz.
She'll be here. She'll be here Saturday for the fights.
Okay, and she was amazing. We're going to get to her too, because she's not just doing boxing, as you know, and
of course.
And now you got a new gig going on. So let's talk about that. So here you're working with your fighter out of Australia, mandatory George Kambosos, for Teofimo Lopez, arguably one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world after his big win against Lomachenko. And you're doing what a manager does. You're trying to get your fighter the best deal he can possible.
Right.
And next thing you know, it goes to purse bid, happens from time to time. And the next day you wake up as chief boxing officer at Triller. Fill in the gaps.
So it's very simple. George Kambosos Jr., who I love, right? And you always want to do right by your fighters. For the past 3 years, we've gone everywhere. George has fought in Malaysia on a Manny Pacquiao undercard. He's fought in Las Vegas. He's fought in Athens, Greece. He's fought in London. He's fought in Madison Square Garden. He's fought in Connecticut. None of those are in his backyard or his country. From our perspective, you could be like, oh, well, Las Vegas, that's still to him. That's around it's the other side of the world.
Right.
So, he hasn't done this the easy way. He beat Mickey Bay in Madison Square Garden on the Terrence Crawford Kavaliskis undercard, the night that Teofimo Lopez won the world title, excuse me, against Richard Comey. And then we went to London and he fought Lee Selby in Lee Selby's backyard for the IBF final eliminator. And he earned his spot to become the mandatory. And becoming the mandatory comes with certain privileges. And that is that if you're not offered a deal or the right deal, you can choose to go to purse bid. And George's promoter, DeBella Entertainment, had not received an offer from Top Rank, which is a fact. Not verbally, not written, not text, no way, never happened. So therefore, it was obvious that we were being driven to purse bid. And I felt that Top Rank's mindset, and look, I have a lot of respect for Top Rank, and I have fighters with Top Rank, right? But in this case, George is not with Top Rank. So my job is to do the best possible job for George. I'm not making apologies. I'm just simply stating the facts.
Right.
So at that point, I realized that, look, DeBella Entertainment does not have a distribution platform. They were not in a position to bid, especially with Matchroom and their relationship with DAZN. Nothing was guaranteed. And, you know, I felt that Top Rank, in all fairness to them, was going to stick to their word, and they were not going to bid a lot of money, you know, and that's just sort of what they were telling people. We're not going to bid a lot of money. So, because if they were, they would have just offered the fight.
Right.
We would have probably taken it, but
Right.
it never happened. So at that point, I started to think, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to just lay down and let this happen. I'm not going to leave it to chance. I had never met Ryan Kavanaugh prior to going out to Los Angeles. I hounded him quietly, finally got on a Zoom call with him. I expressed to him what I felt could help his company, newly formed company, Triller Fight Club, make an impact in the core boxing space. And I told him, if you want to make a statement and you want to come in and let people know that not only are you going to have entertainers and YouTubers and other influencers and you know, that you're going to make a statement, you're going to come in and say, no, we want to put on real quality boxing as well. And I said, listen, Ryan, it was just like this. On Zoom, I said, I'm getting on an airplane tomorrow. I'm coming to visit you. I come to his house. We sit and talk. I reiterate that we have to really, you know, going to have to pay a little bit of a premium. I said, but if you pair it with the right artists and the right other, you know, co-feature, it's gonna absorb that premium. And, you know, we landed on, you know, that particular number. And, you know, sure enough, Top Rank bid site gets 2.1 million. Excuse me. Matchroom had a very respectable bid at 3.5 million. And then Triller Fight Club came in and blew them away with $6,018,000. And so, you know, at that point, the purse bid is over. And, you know, I then had to start really interacting with Ryan because, I mean, I have a fighter now that's fighting for the undisputed lightweight championship of the world, and it's going to be on Triller Fight Club. And so, you know, we begin to talk, and at some point he looks at me and he says, would you be interested in playing a bigger role in Triller Fight Club? And I asked him, what do you mean? He said, well, we don't really have a boxing person here, meaning somebody that can cater to and really boost that the real boxing side of this, the way that we're treating the production and the entertainment and the promotion. And I said, well, what do you have in mind? And he told me, and I thought about it, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity for me. and you know, for me, it was like, look, this is not a traditional boxing company, right? They're not signing fighters. There are no fighters under long-term promotional contracts. It's an event-driven company. The event happens, the fighters go on their way, and then the next show has new fighters and new entertainers in a different vibe, a different look, different production. And so I really just found it intriguing because it's not competing. And I said, you know what, yeah, let's do it. And so I at that point, you know, had made that decision that I was going to take on that role as chief boxing officer. And, you know, now I'm here.
Let me ask you, so was Triller going to bid on this before you went after Ryan, or did that trigger him to go and bid on this fight?
Yeah, no, it wasn't on his radar. And so I came out there and made my pitch as a manager. And look, everyone else has benefited. Top Rank benefited. Teofimo Lopez benefited. DeBella Entertainment benefited. Teofimo's manager, David McWater's benefiting. I'm benefiting. And Triller Fight Club's benefiting. I think it's a win for everyone involved. And my whole thing is that when people say, you know, well, when they ask me about it, I'm like, look, everyone had an opportunity to bid. I mean, and, you know, and both Top Rank and DeBella Entertainment had an opportunity to make offers, you know, to make this fight not go to purse. But it's very similar to how Ryan Garcia, his most recent fight, did not go to purse bid because Golden Boy was able to make a deal and avoid purse bid. So, I mean, that's, you know, I went in there and I made a pitch and Ryan saw that, I guess, my vision aligned with his vision, forward thinking, and that's where we landed.
And you shocked the boxing world, at least the Twitter burst in the boxing world the next day when everyone, you know, was shocked at the bid with, you know, 6 million plus. What were your thoughts once the deal got done and it became public?
Well, I was in the Canelo bubble. I had Aaron Aponte fighting on the Canelo card, I believe February 27th it was.
In Miami.
In Miami. So I was very reserved. I wasn't doing a victory lap. I wasn't running out telling people this, that. I was happy that George Kambosos Jr. was going to get paid a lot of money for the most important fight of his life. It's very rare that you have an opportunity to fight for a world title, let alone the undisputed championship, against arguably one of the top boxers in the world. So this isn't like fighting a vacant title against some guy.
Right.
This is really just going out there and fighting the best. And so I just felt that, no disrespect to Teofimo, I couldn't care less what Teofimo's getting, or his success is a byproduct in this person of my work for my fighter.
Right.
And ultimately that's what it came down to. But I felt like this would be an exciting platform, excuse me, for George to be showcased, and it worked out. And so, yeah, I saw the response and the conspiracy theories and the commentary, and it's interesting because only I know how it took place.
Right.
You know, me and Ryan Kavanaugh know how it took place, and that's the funny part. You know, George didn't even know. So DeBella Entertainment didn't know. I had to keep this really close to the vest. In fact, Lou DeBella sent me a text message about an hour after, said, "I'm never playing poker with you." and it was nothing, no disrespect to Lou.
Right.
The fewer people that knew, the fewer potential leaks or fingers could be pointed if for some reason that word got out.
Yeah, that is amazing, especially in the boxing world, because rumors are rampant every day. You know,
yeah,
especially around
no
like
secrets.
Manny Pacquiao fight.
No secrets in boxing.
Right, right. Manny Pacquiao's been fighting everybody for the last 5 years, and
yeah.
But so let's talk about that. You alluded to kind of these one-off events.
Yes.
Explain to the fans, you know, kind of, because you guys did the Roy Jones Tyson fight, obviously before you were there.
Yeah.
And just as chance would have it, I interviewed Roy Jones. He was in Dallas the day after they announced it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an exclusive with him. And it was just crazy, right? And obviously Mike Tyson, you know, he's a draw for the rest of his life, you know, no matter what. Explain what the Fight Club is all about, and you know, obviously you coming on board to handle the boxing thing, but before Roy Jones and Tyson, or you know, after that fight, Ryan didn't have anything else on the radar, and now you've all of a sudden got all these other events going on. So just talk about the model a little bit and
Sure.
what the fans should expect.
So after the success of Tyson Jones, and that being the 8th most successful pay-per-view in history, Ryan and Snoop Dogg teamed up to start Triller Fight Club. And look, I mean, who would have known that Snoop's commentating would have been such a big hit, right?
He's a star.
You just never know something so simple until it happens. And then it happens and it's magic. And then you're like, why hadn't anyone done this previously? Because it was organic, it was natural. He was just being himself. And I think it was refreshing. and let's also give, you know, credit to the people that participated in the event. Tyson and Jones had a great exhibition. Look, Jake Paul had a highlight reel knockout of Nate Robinson. And that's a fact. The entertainment was great. So I guess it set the blueprint for what could be. And then I think when Ryan and Snoop teamed up and they created this 4-quadrant aspect to these events, which is the influencers, the music artists, the crossover / legends fights, and the real boxing. And so you have these 4 quadrants of entertainment that can appeal to a really wide demographic. On this particular show, we have fans that only know who Jake Paul is, but they also know who Saweetie is, and they know Justin Bieber, but they don't know Regis Prograis or Ivan Redkach or who a Junior Union or Quentin Randall, right? But we also have people that only know Regis Prograis and Ivan Redkach and Junior Union and Quentin Randall, and they're going to tune in because they're boxing fans, and then they're going to have this exposure to all of these artists and an entertaining evening of non-conventional. It's not how we're used to watching boxing, but boxing is just one aspect of this, and it's just a night of entertainment. And the idea is just be entertained, enjoy the evening, enjoy that $50 pay-per-view, get all that value. It's something that a whole family can watch. You can literally have your teenage kids watching, and you could be a full-fledged adult and be watching and be entertained. And the idea is that, like I said, no one's being signed to promotional deals. No one's signing contracts where they have to fight 3 times a year and they're concerned about getting world rated and fighting for world titles. That's not what this is. And, I've already spoken. Look, I already talked to all of the other major promoters on a daily basis anyway, right? About fighters I manage, about upcoming fights. I mean, I have Aaron Aponte fighting on April 17th on the Matchroom show, and I'll be here in Atlanta. So I have Xander Zayas fighting the following week. I'll be in Kissimmee with Top Rank. And so my point is that I've already expressed this, and it's been well received. Look, we'd love to work with you. If there's someone you want to put on one of our upcoming shows, we'd love to put them on. We put them on. We blow up their social media and their awareness with this whole other demographic that never would have known that they existed, because they're tuning in to see a Jake Paul, they're tuning in to see a Justin Bieber or a Doja Cat or Diplo, and all of a sudden now they come across this fighter as well, and they're like, I like that guy. And then they follow him on social media, and now they follow him when we hand him back to their promoter, back on that platform that they have. So it's really only helping. It's not gonna, giving people more eyeballs and potentially more viewership moving forward isn't going to hurt anyone. It's only going to help. So the promoters that understand the spirit of working together and helping the sport, like, let's just be real, Jeff. You go to any sports website, you want to find boxing, you got to go across the top, you got to find the tab that says other. Yeah. You got to click other, and then you got to drop down, and about 2/3 the way down is boxing, and it's under MMA. Right. Okay. So when you understand market share and you understand where we really fit in the ecosystem of sports, we need the help in every aspect, in every way. And there's nothing wrong with that. So my whole mission is, finding ways to work together with everybody. And I think that it could just benefit the sport overall. Yeah, and I would say the Snoop Dogg concert alone was worth the price of admission. Right. I mean, he was amazing. So, no, I'm totally with you. I think the ones that are these purists or that just get wrapped around, the axle about, oh, well, I don't want to see a concert. Then walk away for a little bit. But look, are they going to really be upset on June 5th when they watch Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos. And by the way, there's going to be a strong boxing undercard. So I can tell you that. And look, there's going to be some great music artists. And Evander Holyfield, as you know, is fighting an exhibition.
Devin McBride.
I mean, I look, I'm a boxing purist, but I also understand evolution. And I also understand that we live by these rules that are self-imposed.
Right.
And Ryan Kavanaugh and Snoop are thinking outside the box. And that is what this is. Triller Fight Club is outside the box. And I think it's only going to bring us more fans.
I mean, let me ask you this, just a little bit of devil's advocate. Jake Paul is the ultimate promoter. I mean, in 100 years, I would have never thought I'd be following him on social media. But the guy he just draws you in with his antics, with his craziness. But I know he's dedicated to boxing.
Yeah.
And obviously, the Nate Robinson thing, as you said, was a highlight reel. What is there any concern that a guy like him, let's say Ben Askren beats him, which, a lot of people think he very much could.
Okay.
How does that impact? Like, what if you lose a guy like Jake Paul? Like he decides, I'm not going to do this anymore, or he loses. How does that influence what you guys are doing?
Who says Jake Paul is going to fight on another Triller Fight Club card, win or lose anyway? I mean, that's something that's not taking place in June or July. It might never take place. I don't know.
Okay.
It could, who knows? Maybe not. I mean, that's the whole idea, is that it's just making these compelling events that would, interest these fans to tune in, to buy the pay-per-view, to be entertained. Look, I'm not saying Jake Paul's not going to fight on another Triller Fight Club. I mean, if you put a gun to my head, I'd say he will, but I can't tell you that today. Right. So, I mean, it's not like I said, it's not a traditional. I think it has to be the right matchup. It has to be the right circumstance. But at the same time, I think that you're going to find every show is going to have a theme. Every show is going to be a little bit different, from the entertainment to the boxing itself, right? To the fighters on the card. And there's no agenda. The commentary, there's no house fighter.
Right.
I mean,
right.
This isn't the era of HBO and Showtime where the house fighter can do no wrong. Where everyone's scorecard at the end of the fight has the house fighter winning the fight.
Right. No matter what.
No matter what. Okay. And we've seen that, and I understand that. I really do. But that's not what this is. So
are you putting on even the fights with the influencers? I mean, obviously you're a boxing guy, but who's matching? It seems like the influencers and those kind of guys kind of match themselves on social media. They call each other out. How does that work?
This is very fluid. This is the first event as Triller Fight Club. The Jake Paul Ben Askren fight had already been made before I'd even had the conversation about coming on board. Joe Fournier and Kahn had already been made. Originally, Antonio Tarver was going to fight Frank Mir. That had already been made. So, those, look, I made the Regis Prograis Ivan Redcatch fight, right? That was the first fight I made, and I put together the undercard. But, I'm also helping in many other ways, as far as helping from the infrastructure as to how to run the boxing side of a show, which I'm very familiar with. I mean,
right.
So,
right.
From both working on the promotional side and the management side, I understand that. And when you have events this big, you can't just leave that to people that don't know what they're doing. You still have to deal with commissions. You still have to run a traditional fight week. I mean, we still have guys here that are up and coming prospects, and we have guys that are looking for another shot at a world title. This is very serious. And so it is almost like running a regular boxing event inside of another event.
I mentioned earlier your fighter, Franchone Cruz Dezern, and God, she is wonderful.
Fantastic.
It was great to interview her and then to just cover her that whole fight week when she was out here.
Yeah.
And we talked about you a little bit as well in there, and she mentioned hooking up with you because you thought outside the box. You saw the vision on what she was trying to accomplish. And now it seems like you're with that platform in Triller because she's a musician. Do you see opportunities for her to kind of get involved and maybe be on some shows and musically?
Absolutely. First and foremost, let's not forget, Franchon Crews-Dezurn is a world-class champion. She had, she was part of USA Boxing as an amateur, had success there. She is the current WBC and WBO super middleweight champion. And she has a fantastic singing voice, if you hadn't heard, which I think you might have heard during fight week, during the Garcia Campbell fight week. And she is a force. She's a fashionista. She's just, there's so many facets to her. And she's just a great role model for women, for African-American women. She's a good person, a strong woman. And I enjoy her energy. I love her husband, Glenn Dezurn Jr. They're just good people. And I really like being around them. And I love being a part of their journey. And interestingly enough, 2 fights ago, in that controversial fight with Franchon, where her opponent failed the post-fight drug test, and there was a lot of questions, Snoop had actually tweeted when Franchon's hair, her weave had come out. So who knew that the current time that she would be able to be in an event where Snoop's commentating, where he's part of this company, where she could potentially be fighting, which incorporates all of the things that she's about, right? Which is boxing, fashion, music. It's almost like she was made for this platform.
Right. And that was who I thought of, once, the connection with you and what she had told me. And it just seems there's too much synergy there. So we got to talk about another star, one of the top boxers of all time, the Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya.
Sure.
He's been itching to fight for some time. And now here we go with Triller Fight Club. He's coming back. It looks like July 3rd. How did that happen? Obviously, he's got a relationship with his own promotional company, DAZN. How did this come about with Oscar?
Well, it's simple. I think Oscar saw what Triller Fight Club is doing. He probably sat back and watched the Tyson Jones exhibition, and rightfully so, probably thought to himself, look, I'm legend status. I mean, even if he's being humble, the truth is the truth. Oscar De La Hoya is a legend. There's just no doubt about it. One of the greatest fighters of all time. He was a pay-per-view king. He was the pay-per-view king of his time. He fought everybody. He was the golden boy. He was the first fighter in a very long time that both men and women would tune in to see. And that's a fact. He was part of pop culture. Everyone knew the name Oscar De La Hoya from the time he won the gold medal in the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona to the time I think he won his world title in the 5th division, and some great fights along the way. So I think that, he probably felt that this was something that would be in alignment with him wanting to kind of, the word comeback, I believe that, yes, he's coming back. He hasn't fought in over 12 years, I guess, but it's entertainment. And I think that him participating in an exhibition is great for boxing. I think it's going to attract a lot of fans that from a nostalgia standpoint want to see Oscar one more time. And I think the younger audience that grew up in a household with parents talking about Oscar De La Hoya, they're going to get to watch Oscar De La Hoya the same way they got to watch Mike Tyson. And I think it's just, from that aspect. And, he has a friendship with Ryan Kavanaugh, and they discussed that. And that was something that they had come up with. And look, there is no conflict. Yes, Oscar is a promoter. His company, Golden Boy Promotions, is one of the leading promoters in the world. They have one of the fastest rising stars in the world in Ryan Garcia and Virgil Ortiz. But this has nothing to do with that. This is about Oscar, and that's it. Oscar is still a person outside of Golden Boy Promotions. And this is the right platform. His own company would not be the right platform for this type of fight. Because what this is it's incorporating all of those things we've talked about. it also is dedicated to these types of events. You know, Oscar's still running a very successful promotional company that is promoting fights on a monthly basis on DAZN and, you know, putting on big fights and cultivating young talent. But this is not what that is. You know, this platform is what you and I had discussed, you know, right from the get-go. It's entertainment. And look, the goal of Fight Club is to not do more than 4 to 5 events per year. So I think that in this scenario, it's the right platform for Oscar. And I think it's just a natural fit. I think he recognized it. And I think when he talked to Ryan, they both felt that this was the right thing. And here we are. I mean, July 3rd, he's going to fight. I'm going to see him tonight. I mean, he already looks like he's been in the gym and he's getting in great shape. He looks like he's in great shape. And I think what we're going to see is we're going to see Oscar in a bit of a challenge. I can't tell you because we haven't locked in his opponents yet, but you know, that's happening right now. You know, there have been names flying around, but that's something that, you know, within the next week or two, I think will be landed on. And I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, you mentioned him being an icon. I covered his press conference in Dallas outside American Airlines when he fought Mayweather. And I can tell you, as someone who's married to a Hispanic Nicaraguan, that thing went back, I can't tell you how many city blocks, mostly about 100% women and mostly Hispanic women. And not one person was there for Floyd Mayweather, you know, and he was already a 3-time world champion, I believe, at the time. So
Oscar's a worldwide figure. He's a worldwide star.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And we're going to wrap it up here, Peter. Again, Jeff Zimmerman with FightNews.com. But we got to come full circle. You know, we talked about early on, you're in the music business, you know, booking acts and so forth. You hook up with Don King. 25 years or so later, you're now working with Ryan Kavanaugh, billionaire movie producer, and the legendary greatest rapper to me of all time, Snoop Dogg. I mean, how surreal is that? And do you ever have you had a chance to even reflect on where things have gone? Because you went from one day job to 2 day jobs overnight, but what has that, you know, experience been like? And now everything coming full circle.
You know, Jeff, it's been great. I really like the people, first and foremost. And Snoop said something to me yesterday about a particular fight that's going to be on this show that I'm not going to talk about now. It's part of one of the extra things that's taking place. And at the end of our phone call, he said, thank you for respecting my vision and making it happen. And, you know, that meant a lot to me at the end of the call because I knew it meant a lot to him. And that guy is a lot busier than I am. And I'm busy. And he's a lot bigger icon, you know, than I am. And so that meant a lot when he said those exact words. And it's because they really believe in what they're doing. And so, you know, that motivates me. And it's been a great experience. I mean, everyone involved. And let me tell you something, I've never been involved with something of this magnitude regarding the size and scope of this production. So it's interesting. I'm grateful to be here, and you know, look, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm enjoying the people that I'm around, and I'm just looking forward to a successful show Saturday night, April 17th. It's at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but of course it'll be on pay-per-view. So you can get the traditional pay-per-view, or you can buy it on Fight, which you probably saw the announcement yesterday that Triller Fight Club or Triller bought Fight, the leading digital platform in combat sports. So, you know, this is a great time, I think, for the sport. And I think there's going to be a resurgence, and I think everything is moving in the right direction. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, one day we'll have to read your book because it's a story that maybe Ryan can turn it into a movie. You know, a young guy, you know, wants to be in the music business, ends up in boxing. 25 years later, ends up in the music boxing business. It's a hell of a story. But we'll write that for another day. But Peter, I appreciate your time. You got a lot on your plate. Peter Kahn, Chief Boxing Officer with Triller Fight Club. He's got a big show this Saturday night in Atlanta, headed by Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. A lot of great fights with Regis Prograis and musical guest Snoop Dogg, obviously Justin Bieber, and a whole host of others. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to do this, and I wish you all the luck on your future events.
Jeff, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks to Fight News, and I look forward to seeing you in Texas for Oscar's fight.
I can't wait. I can't wait to meet you live, and we'll catch up then.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.